Peter Stefanovic here, reporting from Donald Trump's home. That's why he's not here. We're reporting from a very blowy Palm Beach in Florida today. Over my shoulder, that's Mar-a-Lago, and that's why Donald Trump isn't there today. He is campaigning. There are just hours left to go in this election campaign now. As we've been reporting, we've been talking about these 7 battleground states for weeks and months now. These are the toss-up states that will ultimately decide who gets the keys to the White House. But the two main contenders, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, are really just zeroing in on 2 of those states today. North Carolina and Pennsylvania, which is where Donald Trump just was. Now, they are worth 19 votes in the Electoral College, Pennsylvania, 16 for North Carolina. So both of those contenders believe they've got to pick up at least 1 or 2 of them to get a chance to be able to win this election. So Donald Trump clearly thinks so, because he's spending time in both of those states today. We'll get to Kamala Harris in a moment. You just saw him with several sporting references in Pennsylvania just now. There's still a little time left on the clock, but earlier he was in North Carolina with a warning and perhaps a window here into how his foreign policy is going to work, particularly when it comes to illegal immigration. We know that's one of the top 2 or 3 issues that are front of mind for Americans at this election. So he had a warning to the new Mexican government that if they don't stop the flow of illegal immigrants into the United States, then Trump, if he's successful, will hit them with greater tariffs and more taxes.
If they don't stop this onslaught of criminals and drugs coming into our country, I'm going to immediately impose a 25% tariff on everything they send in to the United States of America. If that doesn't work, I'll make it 50. And if that doesn't work, I'll make it 75 for the tough guys, and I'll make it 100.
Yeah, he's got 4 official events today, Donald Trump does, in 3 different states. But Kamala Harris is doing things differently. She's just eyeing off Pennsylvania, so they're crisscrossing each other in Pennsylvania today. Those 19 votes are the ones that Kamala Harris is most interested in. She's got 3 events coming up later. We'll bring part of them to you. Already she's had a smaller event in Scranton in Pennsylvania, which is Joe Biden's hometown. This was her revving up her supporter base last hour.
Let's get out the vote. 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 Let's win.
Now, here in Florida, it used to be a battleground state, but it's not anymore. Donald Trump has picked it up twice in a row now, and the high expectation is that he'll be getting that a 3rd time in a row with its 30 votes in the Electoral College. It's the 3rd biggest state when it comes to the Electoral College, and the local Republicans here are pretty confident about how he's looking.
Every city is a border city, and the border is an issue, and we think the Republican voters are going to come out and vote for President Trump so we can solve the border issue.
Okay, so that was Kevin Neal a little bit earlier in the program. Now, folks, you're hearing us constantly talk about these numbers, and it must be getting confusing. So remember, the Electoral College is worth 538 votes in total. You need more than half, so that's why we keep referring to 270. Here's a refresher in how it's all going to work and add up tomorrow.
We know that the US presidential election isn't about the raw number of votes you have. It is all about 270 votes, 270 electoral college votes. Each state of the union has a particular number of electoral college votes assigned to it on the basis of population. If you get over 270, then you win the election. It really is as simple as that. Let's have a look at what we think will happen in most of the states, because most of the states are safe for either Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. You can see we've coloured them in there on the basis of the polling. We're pretty certain that most of these states will go this way. If it doesn't, then one or other of the candidates is having an incredible night. So there are 7 left remaining. These are the 7 swing states that you've heard so much about. Between them all, they're worth about 90 electoral college votes altogether. So we've got Georgia here down here, we've got North Carolina, we've got Pennsylvania, we've got Michigan, we've got Wisconsin, we've got Arizona, and we've got Nevada. These are the electoral battlegrounds, the arenas where this election will be fought, has been fought, and will be won and lost. On the basis of this, What can we say on the basis of the current polling? What can we say that we know? Well, we can't say a lot because the polling has been so close. The pollsters have been herding together, basically saying it's too tight. But there are a few states where one or other of Harris or Trump is a little bit further ahead. So, for example, in Georgia, Donald Trump is a bit further ahead than Kamala Harris. That's a state that Joe Biden won last time. First time a Democrat had done that in 30 years. Arizona, same thing. First time a Democrat had won it since 96, but Trump is back ahead there. Kamala Harris is ahead in Nevada, a state the Democrats have won in every election since 2008. And in Michigan, again, state that Donald Trump won back in 2016, but Kamala Harris is ahead. And that leaves Wisconsin, it leaves Pennsylvania, it leaves North Carolina. What are the paths then in that situation? You can see they're tantalizingly close to each other, 247 versus 246. There are 3 paths that would be available to them in that situation. And really so much attention has been paid, most of all, to Pennsylvania in the northeast of the United States. Why? Well, because it has more people living in it than either Wisconsin or North Carolina, or indeed any of the other swing states, with 19 electoral college votes. So you can see that, let's for the sake of argument give that to Kamala Harris. Well, if she were to win Pennsylvania in this scenario, and it is just one scenario, there are loads of different possibilities. In this scenario, then she would only be 4 away from clinching that historic presidency. She would only need, for example, Wisconsin. She wins. She would only need North Carolina. Even if Donald Trump were to win North Carolina or won his state twice, then she would win. And we can reverse it as well, and we can see that if we give that to Donald Trump, then he would win. That is why so much attention has been paid to the state of Pennsylvania. On the night itself, it is almost certainly where this election will be won and lost.
So let's just return briefly to Donald Trump's campaign event that's happening now in Reading in Pennsylvania, because there is an interesting focus there that we've picked up on that signage, Women for Trump. Now, earlier in the program, we brought you all the pre-polling numbers that are in before people physically go to the polls in about 14 hours from now on the East Coast. There is a sharp difference when it comes to the number of women who've already voted as opposed to the number of men who've already voted. So pre-polling, the number stands at almost 80 million, which is staggering, but there's a 10-point gap when it comes to male and female voters favouring female voters. So they may well be the ones who decide this election, Kenny.
Pete, thank you. Good to see you. We'll check in with you again soon.